Good game. Good game. Good game. Good game. And this is me. Yeah, let's rock. You got some tape on it? That's. You gonna get from? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah? Oh my gosh. Try to call us open, but I mean, obviously, if they throw a guard, we're coming in. Yeah. I don't either. If this is exactly, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Guess for well. Right here. I think you can go. I think you gotta go. Both of you, yeah. Hard. Hard, 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 hard. Get it too. Yeah,
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 STEELE 1824 Halifax Classic at the Halifax Curling Club in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Brought to you by STEELE SUBURU, Neon Train, and of course, STEELE Realty Team. My name is Stuart Thompson, and unfortunately, you're going to have to only listen to me today. I'm the only one talking today. On our other live sheet, Mary Matatal is over, so you can flip between the two sheets. I'll try to keep you updated as the game goes on. If you're here, you might be aiming to watch Team Greg Smith take on Team Stuart Thompson. If you're looking for the Moybrook-McDougall game, that's on our other live sheet. Other action here this afternoon. These are all part of the men's event. We have Epping and Jones and Fournier versus, and I can't see the sign down at the other end, Manuel. So once again, sheet 8. At the Halifax Curling Club, Stuart Thompson taking on Greg Smith. Stuart Thompson, his third, Cameron McKenzie, second, Travis Coulter lead, Phil Kroll. They curl out of here. They're at home at the Halifax Curling Club. And Team Smith, skipped by Greg Smith. Third is Chris Ford. Second, Zach Young. And lead, Zach Shirtliff. They curl out of the Remax Center. And because there's two Zachs on that team, I'm going to go with Zach Y and Zach S. I'll try and keep you in the loop. So we have opened things up here. We're in the first end. This is second, Travis Coulter throwing for Team Thompson. They have the yellow stones. Team Smith with the red stones has hammer. And we've got our pretty typical first end of play. Not a lot of stones in play so far. As we're just past lead stones, we're on to second stones here. Corner guard out for Team Smith. The center guard just, Travis was trying to come around, wrecked on it. So now we got a couple yellows out front. And Greg asking Zach Y, Zach Young, to come around that corner guard. Teams had a bit of practice before the game, but this will be a new path. They practice mostly the draw to the button path, so edge 8 foot coming into the center line.
Got a curl.
So this is a little new. They're just seeing how it's going to curl across the center line.
All the way. All the way.
Zach Shirtliff trying to sweep to curl and hoping that that gets the rock to carve and die, which it does there at the back 12. Might be visible on the other side, but it's from the hack buried behind the guard. Team Thompson thinking about whether they should just make a play on it, or they can come around the corner, take that rock out of play. Could come around the center guard, but I don't think they're favoring that because they just wrecked on it. So Travis looking to follow Zach Young's rock down. Come around the corner guard. These teams will watch each other when it's a new path. The sweepers, of course, will be watching what the last rock did and the splits. This one looks like it's slowing down a little sooner. Come to rest right on top of that red stone. Actually over curled. So Greg's gonna not pay any mind to those stones. Just play around the corner again. Try and make a good one here. Around a third stone, so this is Chris Ford.
Where?
I mentioned Team Smith curls out of the Remax Center, but I don't think I told you where. Out of St. John's.
Take it off. Okay.
I don't know what happened to that stone. It grabbed something or burnt. I think it grabbed though.
Did it stick?
It's a big change to the end. Instead of using that corner guard, Team Thompson, they'll come around the center. They're going to choose the other side of the sheet, trying to keep play away from that corner guard. Hoping that if this rock pops out at all, it'll pop out on the broom side.
Yeah, it was looking really good.
This is Cameron McKenzie.
What?
That's almost I used to come around.
Yeah.
The guards, like corner guards.
If you're any bit near on that line, it just goes.
So it looks like it's coming in pretty strong. So plan B is wicking off the stone that was just off. They actually made a nice little split there. So sitting 2. But that stone did not curl as much as they expected it to. Looked a little heavy too. Would have
I
been
think
back
this
house.
is the call.
Greg's gonna have to make a play on it. He could play the draw around the center line, but I think he's thinking eliminate a couple yellow stones and keep the play open.
Curl. Okay, we're just rolling out.
This one's running really straight. They wanted to get that on the inside. That actually only hit half a rock on the outside. We were watching the sheet earlier this morning, and if you were tuned into the game, Mary Manatol and I were here, and we noticed that that spot ran a little straighter than the rest of them on the ice. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. The board side of sheet 8. Now they come around on the other side. I think that surprised everybody. Wrecked on the guard. They weren't sweeping that very hard, and that was the spot where earlier Travis or Phil's wrecked as well. Back to the corner.
Curl. Line's good. Curl. Straight, straight.
They were sweeping that to curl, now straight. They're navigating the port here.
Keep going.
Worried this is going to pop out the other
Keep
side,
going.
though.
Go, 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 go.
Best case, they can lock it right on that yellow stone. They get shot rock out of it, though. Back 12.
Holy crap.
So for Team Smith, that's point number 2 if they can manufacture something around the center. Stuart's not going to chase it, though. He's going to go to the wide side.
As soon as you laid a brush to it.
But they came around. They were.
Well, they almost. I know they almost missed this one. I think the right side of the sheet's a bit straighter.
This is where they had a rock that ran a little straight and heavy on Cameron's shot.
Yeah, I know. It just drifted out.
So we'll see if they can do one better. They're a little bit less on this one.
Like, I was trying to get that like nice, good straight throw kind of.
Yeah, I know.
And we practiced really. That's what
Looking for 4 foot. They need 8 foot to outcount the red Smith stone in the back 12. And they're getting the curl on this one that they weren't getting earlier, although it's going to have to finish. A lot of broom. Craig's trying to make sure that gets to the back 12 and just, I think, a little too deep, maybe. Maybe good enough.
Maybe
It's
not
buried.
quite. Ah. I gave her. Only here. 14-4.
Don't think it really changes Greg's shot all that much,
15
even if it
should
were
be fine.
shot or not. Taking a look at it.
14-4.
The old broom measure method.
Yeah. I didn't quite get it. Yeah.
So even if this rock of Greg's, if yellow's
I know,
shot
for the
and he
whole-
throws back to it,
so
taps it a bit, he
flip
would
is
sit
good, top
2.
eight, top
But
4.
he's just aiming for top 4 foot.
Yeah.
If he goes to the top, to the back rock, Stuart will just come lay down one on top of it. So that's no good for getting a deuce. Need to be shot stone.
Same as my draw, pretty well. You gotta go line. Gotta go line.
Sweepers are on this one early. It's got a bit less rotation than Stuart, so it should dig in. These rocks are pretty sharp, so when they go, they go. We've seen some big finish. They're going for weight now. This one's really dying. They want to get this to the 8 foot. Get it by that yellow. There they go. Right into the 4 foot.
I threw that
Great
soft.
sweep.
Yeah. I just babied the release.
It's a pretty
And I
good
was like,
shot
no,
there
no,
from
just
Greg
go.
Smith on
Just
his
go.
first.
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
Stuart's going to have
Oh,
to
no.
freeze down to it. Not much he can do. This is just for the force at this point. He can freeze down to that red stone in the 4 foot.
Just holding on too long.
Greg will have a
I'm
tough
not
shot for
gonna
his
hold on.
2, so that's the goal.
Who did it? Yeah. Yeah. You can carry it pretty good. We were aiming for 15, so it's just straight lights. What? Yeah. It might be just as easy for me to come through the hole unless he chaps off. He's out there now.
Looking for top 4 on this one. This one's hanging out more than Greg's. Starting to curl now.
Just way wider though.
Sweeping to get it frozen right on that red stone. Looks pretty good. There we go. That's about as good as they can do. So Greg will have a shot for 2, but he's got to find a way to the 4-foot. So there's a tight little port there between the yellow stone and the top 12 and a guard that's out front. You can see there, that tiny port. He might have to come down to his own or ricochet off that, maybe with back 4 weight.
Great shot. I need to throw this pretty in out to hold it there.
Nice to have
weight is everything too.
1 in the bag. Throw for the second.
We just need to be a 3rd in the 4th. Yeah. Get to our red without chapping it.
Lots of rotation on this one, lots more than on the other side. We've been intentional just to get it through that tight port.
Yes!
Looks like they're going for line real hard.
Yes! No. Sugar.
And that'll just come up light, a little too light crossing the center line there. So after 1 end, that's a score of 1 for Team Smith. They'll lead.
Threw it the way I wanted to.
Team Thompson in the end 2. Thompson will have hammer. Throwing the yellow stones.
I like a 2-3, honestly. We'll go in.
A lot more rocks in play than we're used to seeing in the first end. These guys got going for it. If you've been following our tournament since its inception, this is you will know this is the 6th year for the men's event, and this is the 3rd year for the women's event. So ran as a men's event for 4 years before adding the women's, or 3 years, sorry. Can't do my math.
I think by the weekend there might be no curl as soon as these rocks wear in.
Last year's winner, they're in the field this year, Team Epping.
Nope.
On the women's side, Caitlin Laws took it last year.
Just west of Toronto. But
Top 4, make it good.
no way.
Top 4.
Swampland, basically.
If you're watching from Halifax and you want to come
Yeah,
out,
we gotta go 15-6.
the Halifax Curling Club is 948 South Bland Street.
Okay.
Free admission all weekend. And if you look on the Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, or Zitter,
Yeah.
as some people are calling it,
I
'cause
think we're
it's
just gonna
X.
guard that, hey? There's no point giving
Take a
them
look,
free
see what's
double.
going on. I've heard some awesome events happening. We've got a couple bands playing this weekend.
They like that?
I heard tell of
I think we can just
Oysters
guard
on
it. There's no point
Friday.
in just giving them a free double and roll.
So come on out.
Just guard it.
I know if you're watching from home during the day, it's probably because you're working. So we're happy to have you on the live stream, and we'll have these streams available for the whole event.
Well, maybe not, actually.
If your team's playing on one of the middle sheets, sheets 8 and 2, then you'll be able to watch the video as well. I'll just do an update on the other games that are out if you're not watching the online scores at stewcurls.com or curlingzone.com. Epic took 3 on Jones in the first. They're playing 2. McDougall took 2 on Moybrook in the first.
Yes!
And in the Fournier Manual game,
Yes!
they have a very busy first end, and they haven't finished yet.
Yes! All right, it's gone. Okay.
So first rock in, top 12 for Team Smith here in the second. Corner guard coming into the
10-6.
rings
Good
for
throw.
Team Thompson, and then hit for Team Smith, but over curled, and the shooter rolled out. So Phil Kroll will try and put that corner guard up again. This event, just like all competitive events, we have the 5 rock rule, but also the no tick rule. If you're not familiar with it, it's for the same amount of time that the free guard zone's in play. You cannot tick a rock that is on the center line, and you can't tick it off the center line. So you can move it ever so slightly, but most teams are electing not to move the stone at all, because if you do that, then your thrown stone is removed from play. So So we are seeing more center guards in play, maybe a little more scoring. It's nice for the viewers. And for the team that is up with hammer, they're not as much of a fan, but they like it when they're down. So here comes another center guard. Got to get this one over. It's really curling hard at the end. And that'll be a pretty high guard. So the opportunities here with that high guard to actually make contact with the redstone, the top 12 for Travis. Try and roll the shooter. When you're playing these kind of shots, it's always so important to keep the shooter around. We talk about this time and time again. Your shooter could be a point, especially if you have hammer. This one's got a curl to make contact, though. So made contact, but shooter didn't stick around. I don't think that was more weight. Seemed to be the weight that was called. So another opportunity to come around the center. With that guard so high, I do think it'll be accessible, but for Team Smith, their goal here is to sit 2. Sweepers work to get that as tight as possible for Zach Young. This comes up tight guard. So now attempt number 2 for Travis. Try and get this rock out of the way. This one's got a little more weight than the last one. No roll under, they roll a little bit away. So this could be a very interesting end with 2 center guards and a corner guard and 1 rock in the rings that both teams are probably going to try and make a roll off of. So Greg's called for Zach to roll to the center. Or sorry, Chris to roll to the center. That one jumped. They had one in the first end that picked, and I'm not sure if it was Chris's rock or not, but we want to keep an eye on that one. This is a draw behind the center guards. If you got hammer and you got some guards, again, surprise them though that they weren't worried about that and it overcurled. So now an opportunity for Team Smith. Chris Ford, play the come around on the other side. They can't play it on the same side that was just thrown. Looking for top 8, top 4. Chris had a good one last end. Or I guess Greg had that one. Chris wasn't throwing the draws. There we go, top 8, right on the curling and curling club. A bit of a tough spot for Team Thompson. They, if they play at that stone that was just thrown, their shooter's going to roll open. If they try and play a raise, they risk punching that yellow stone through the pocket, probably trying to save that for later in the end. So this would be with maybe a board weight. I'm not going to make contact.
Think we freeze back in an inch. Freeze back a little.
Curl.
Yeah.
Got it, curl. Curl. Straight.
So another draw for Greg. The forefoot's still open for Team Thompson to draw to, so just trying to make this a little harder for them. I don't think he'd be too upset if there was a little tap up on his red in the top 8. Promote it to the forefoot and try and shut down the scoring area we always love to talk about. And Greg just watched Chris throw this, so should have a pretty good feel for what the weight's like.
I just didn't hear anything. Oh, the good news is it's wide open now. Got that one to go a lot more than you got mine to go. That's what I mean, but no, this side's a lot. I think it's that some pressure. This side's running weird.
Working on this one now that it's starting to curl. They had to wait for it. Looking for a little tap. Just gets it to the forefoot. So now they're looking at what's the best way to give us a chance to score here. Not really worried about 2. Stuart wondering if they hit that top red. Get everything to go.
I didn't think it would go much. I thought with your little that was wrong. I don't know. Maybe it was on the guard immediately. No, it still feels over. And it's this, right?
Can only see a third of it.
That's kind of what I'm seeing. Like I'm seeing control there. I don't see this doing a lot. Yeah. Are you trying to roll half there? Control? What was Scott when he let go? It looked like it died. That's what I mean. What was it when he let go?
So I've switched over to this. The draw would still be there if this misses everything, but goal is to run this into the red. On the side 8-foot.
Just whipping them? Just whipping it? They might have
Soft weight, not too much. Hard to make contact. Watch where the shooter goes or the raised rock goes, right to the button. That works well. And the shooter stays out front. Greg's got a double if he wants it. The risk is jamming it, but I don't think he's got anything better. Just gonna hit this on the nose, make the double. Sit 2. Should be seeing a bit of a heater here. Probably a nice backswing, as Greg's known for. Don't expect this to curl all that much. And unlucky, got a nutted straight on the rock shot. So now open draw. This is for the second point. Cameron just looking, if you come down to the nose of the yellow, would it still be shot? I think you have to get to the inside, just to the inside of it. T-line weight. And Greg sat there, did not curl. I think it was still going outward toward the broom when it made contact, so you didn't get any curl on that one, unfortunately. Good thing to keep in mind, because we're getting a lot of finish on these lighter weight hits. But the up weight, they're not moving. Looking for T-line weight here. This was this team's draw to the button path. They were they didn't get last rock, so they were a little heavy to the back 8. So I wonder if they can improve it for this. They got to get to the inside of that stone in the 4-foot. Need to grab a good chunk of the 4-foot, and that'll do it. Looks like 2 for yellow. Team Smith will take hammer into the 3rd, down 1. That was looking like in the all Smith second end until good little run back there. So they'll look to continue. They put a lot of pressure on. They put a lot of rocks in play. Want to give a little more credit to our main sponsors, STEELE, SUBURU, Neon Train, and Stu Sells Realty Team. And also, you want to thank partner sponsors, Murphy Hospitality Group, Prince Edward Island Brewing Company, Crombie Reet, Scotia Square, and the Curling Store. And you can see some of these sponsors. I can see the Curling Store right out on the ice there as Phil gets ready to throw. We always appreciate the support of our sponsors. Team Smith, they'd like to shout out to Harvey's Home Heating and Dildo Brewery. Team Thompson didn't say anything, but I can read on their jackets they'd like to say thanks to Colonial Honda, and Baker Tilly. And it's really nice to have this East Coast Stu Sells event. A lot of the events are, I think almost all the other ones are in Ontario, but this is the East Coast version. And of course, Stu Sankey and the Stu Sells Realty team supporting curling. They're a sponsor of both these teams out on the ice, along with the presenting sponsor of the event and the STEELE Tour. And you're watching on the STEELE feed. And of course, you're checking the scores at stewcurls.com. So center guard up for Team Thompson from Phil Kroll, and a come around here from Zach Shirtliff. Right on the top 4 foot. It's a nice spot to have that, just half in the 8, half in the 4. If it gets knocked around, it's probably not going quite behind the tee line. If it gets bumped by these freezes, usually that's what we see here, is a series of freezes to try and master the angles. Sweepers are on this one early though. I think they think it's light. They got it by the guard just to the top 12. It's usable rock. Zach Shirtliff with that other stone not in the rings and a good stone, or sorry, not in a scoring position. They're just going to split the rings. Important thing here, and that's what the sweepers were doing, is to make sure that it didn't sit in the top 12 foot and leave it double. We're early enough in the end, I think. This Thompson team is thinking cleanup might be a little better idea than playing into it. They're up 1. So they want to hit the low side of this rock. Try and make contact with the stone in the top 12. Or in the top 4. One day I'll learn the dimensions of the rings. And didn't make contact with that top 4 foot stone. This one might spin back. Oh, didn't do much. So Team Smith still sitting 2 and throwing. Putting another one around that center guard. Or you can try and split the house as much as possible. I think they know that Team Thompson's going to be running that center guard back. Greg likes the split. There's always trade-offs with the different calls. You put one around the center guard, then they're grouped for a run back. If you split the rings and there's an angle, then there's an angle for a double. So you try your best. Play in the paths that you know, feel comfortable with. So this is Zach Young. Zach's been curling the longest on this team, Smith. 25 years. Curling since he was 5 years old.
Gotta go. Gotta go. Walk it over. Walk it over. Good shot. 14. You like guarding or corner freezing the yellow?
Now the run back.
Corner freeze is real good. It's kind of short.
Doesn't connect with anything in the rings. That's 2 in a row that didn't quite curl up enough. But the shooter stays out front. So Greg's going to try and use that as a corner guard, I think. Zach's going to want to put this top 8 foot, top 4 foot area. This is picking out of his hand and just gone, though. This must be his second rock. That's been, I think, every end he's had that happen with that rock. Sure, Greg will take a look what's underneath.
Line's pretty good. Is that room?
Always nice to know when something picks that badly. What the heck was on the ice?
Gotta keep going.
He found it. Something frustrating when that happens. Leaves a hit and roll or a double opportunity here for Cameron.
That's like 15-6. That's the second. Yeah. That should never get it. 15-6.
Gonna keep this high the center line, roll the shooter over by the corner guard. They're gonna have to work hard for that roll though. Get most of the way there. Still open though. Looks like you can see it. Greg's calling for the shooter to actually get under the guard. So they expect this to move. Chris set that back on center line a bit, so we'll see when it already crossed. Looked like it was going to go straight, and now it's moving. Now they're by the guard. They want to get it underneath. Avoid the jam. Sitting 3. The double across house is super flat. I don't think it's even there. And the other one's really thin, or you got to play a slash. So the safer call here is hit and roll under the guard. So that's what Cameron's being asked to do.
Line's good. Line's nice. Line's good. Line's good. Hard. Line's good. Line's good. Yep. Yep. Okay.
Looking for that roll, just not quite getting under the guard.
Just super sensitive.
Chris can probably see all of it from the hack again.
Like 3 feet left.
Might be able to get the flop underneath.
I thought the throws were similar. I didn't want to give you more. I tightened you up like an inch.
This one's not moving as much as his first.
Tough out here today.
Don't want to hit it on the high side and jam it on the red. Ooh. Watch the shooter. So shooter sticks around for shot. That wasn't even that much weight. That's surprising. Didn't get as much movement on that. It's a couple unlucky results this end for Team Smith.
Yep. Try to get the back button now. Yeah. There.
Throw around to skip stones.
Grab your shot. Yeah, it's fast. Yeah. Back forth. As high as
Stuart here looking for a hit and stay.
as buried as we can be.
Nothing too fancy. I always find these ones interesting at the back of the rings. You got just about 6 feet more than a stone in the top house, and 6 feet more of curl, of distance for a rock to curl. So you have to be careful as a sweeper that you don't let it go, and it takes all that curl at the end of the rock's path. Sometimes you'll find teams have rocks over curl and roll out if you're not careful. Greg's not giving up without a fight on this one. He could play the hit and concede that he'll probably give up or probably only get a single, but he's playing the freeze here. Like to get the 2 points. I like this. If you make it, Stuart will have a hard one to peel it out. So looking for back 8-foot weight. Gotta work to get it that far back in the rings. You don't want it to stop in the top 8. Like to get it to the tee line if they can, but it's over curling. Looks like they got shot stone out of it, so Stuart's gonna have to make a play. He'd like to keep his shooter around, but you don't want to get so cute that you jam on the back just to keep your shooter. So soft weight. They'll err on the side of hitting this and rolling the shooter wide versus nose.
I had no issue burying. I had no issue burying. No. I know. I couldn't tell if we were going to get by.
Calls yes early. Now to curl. They know they're not going to jam, so want to keep the shooter. Might get lucky on the back one. So sitting 2, maybe 3 for Team Thompson after all their stones are thrown. Greg Smith coming. He's got a draw for a single here. Just threw it. Now on these, it's always tempting. Same shot you just threw, but it's tempting to throw to the backing. Sometimes you give a little too much, so Greg will be aware of that. He's just trying to throw the same shot, let his sweepers take care of it.
I don't hate the same weight. Same weight, I think it's close.
They're going for line because this one's curling, much like the last. Weight looks like it's there. It might be over curling. I think so. I think that's going to be a steal of 1. A little surprising that with a little less weight, maybe took the same ice. Over curl, so it's a steal of 1 for Team Thompson. They lead 3-1 after 3.
Did you clean the path?
We asked for teams to give us some fun little tidbits about themselves for this tournament. I'm wondering if anybody has any curling superstitions, and these guys aren't very superstitious on either team. Team Smith, nobody had anything to say but Chris Ford. He likes fresh tape. I think he tapes his foot. We'll have to keep an eye out instead of a toe coat. Or maybe physio tape. And on Team Thompson, we got some not reallys from the front end. And Cameron just tries to keep things going the same when they're doing well. I was hoping for someone that said that they only ever wear the same pair of socks for every curling game or something. And for Team Smith, Greg's played in every iteration of this tournament since it started. He's played in 5, now in his 6th. Chris has played in 4 of them, Zach in 3 of them. Or sorry, Zach Young in 3 of them, and Zach Shirtliff has played in 1 of the STEELE 1824 Halifax Classic. And for Team Thompson, every single player has played in every single one. And Team Thompson, they were the champions of the event in 2022. So we have current reigning champion John Eppings here in the field, previous year Stuart Thompson. But we don't have the other winners. In the first year of the event, it was Scott Howard skipping the Glenn Howard rink that were the winners. 2020, it was Glenn Howard. He was here that year, championed that team. And then Brad Gushu was in 2021. For the women, in the 2 years since the event has existed, Suzanne Burt was the winner in 2022, and last year it was Caitlin Laws. And it'll be a new champion on the women's side, as neither of those teams are here, Laws or Burt. Although we have some former players from some of these championship teams here on their new teams. Back to the 4th end here in the Smith versus Thompson game. Team Smith down 2 with Hammer, playing the 4th. They've got their corner guard. They're going for a double on the yellows and just missed clipping that back yellow. Travis going for hit and flop. Want to stick the shooter around. This one's moving. Keep this high, the center line. There we go. Roll the shooter in front. Good shot from Travis. And Greg wants to get something behind that corner guard. It's a little high, but if you can bury something high in the house, be hard to get at. Zach Young. Just gonna get the nose on that one. Chris wasn't sweeping, but he kicked the red rock, the red guard out front, so they just put that back.
They're going here.
Back-to-back nose hits. Chris will look to make this, or Zach will look to make this a little better than his last one. Just want a little more curl. Try and roll the shooter. Make it a little more complicated. Got to get this one a little closer to the center line. But these rocks seem to be just staying straight.
No, I'm just worried these guys, they're just going to clog the middle and then we're screwed, right? At this point, we got to trust each other.
Now, Cameron throws this and he hits it on the nose. There'll be a double. So the call is to roll. I think they're going for the outside roll, but they might not be upset if it goes the other way either. Want to keep that shooter around though, and that one just rolling out.
Line's good. Line's nice. Line's good. Close. Line's good. Line's real good. Line's great.
So opportunity now for Chris Ford. Make the come around. Remember that guard's pretty high, so they've got to get around it and bury, but you don't want to get too close to the guard. Pop out the other side with the curl, which is what we're at risk of having happen now. Oh, it looks pretty good, but it didn't get shot. Looks like it's buried though. Hard to see that from the hack. So Stuart could call a few things here. There, it looks like they're electing to play come around, just either freeze to the top of that red second stone or just come around it. Really, you have a margin for error on either side as long as your shot or second shot. And you could make a play on your own and try and split them, but I always find that that ends up in grouping the stones and leaving a double, which is exactly what you don't want. So they're playing around the corner, just trying to take that area away.
Line's good. Line's good. Line's nice. Well, line's good.
Wait, looks like it's all there. I think they were playing to rub off their own. They got a little lucky. Or maybe a good call with Travis sweeping that. They are sitting 2. So their end result was very similar to what the call was. They just didn't make it that way. Bump the red out into the open. So Greg's saying if you hit this center line stone and roll behind, then there's an easy double. So the call is instead come down and punch that yellow. Waiting for that to break off the line. It's really starting to move now. You have to be careful not to sweep for curl. Sometimes you can overcook it. They got it by. Made the shot. Greg's going to make sure that yellow gets out the back. Called and made. That's a little bit of a vulnerable yellow shot stone with 2 reds behind the corner guard. On to skip stones here. So Stuart's going to try and sit 2. Needs to be behind those reds in the top 8 foot. But if he leaves it on the tee line, Greg will have a double.
That he knows that with like control. I know. I don't hate this for now.
So usually what you see with these is the shooter will put the stone in the back 8 foot, so it's a really thin or a steep double.
It's like 14-8, I want to say.
The goal is to sit 2 here.
Go off with their rocks. They threw a 14 at T line last time. I think right here.
They're calling for back 4.
You get to know it's so good.
So it's not moving yet. Sweepers aren't staying too close to this rock. They need it to dig. And it looks like it is, just in time to set 2. As a sweeper, you always want to help the rock get to where it's going, not hope. So the double's there for Greg. It's so thin, though. It's hard. He's just thinking hit and roll behind the reds and get there. Maybe the 3 is out of the picture now, but still can get a skipper's deuce if he makes this hit and roll really nicely.
Line's great. Hard boys. Line's perfect. Whoa, whoa. Leave us that.
I know they're looking at rolling the other way, which I think sets them up for a force, or at least trying to roll the other way and maybe get a double on the last for 3, but that's a big if. I like trying to make the roll go for you too. If you roll far and Stuart tries some kind of run back, you could get lucky with the jam on the back one.
It's only really normal. No, like it won't stay where it is. If you cut
They're looking for the hit and roll.
I always try to roll away.
They're off and on. It's close. Watch for the roll.
You leave the 4 a little
Awful close to
bit. Trying to
perfect.
get this one right to here. Like what if he knows it was like normal? It's getting real lonely. I think we just
Got it about half buried. You can see there from the hack.
I'm trying to use that one.
And if you peel it out, Greg will have, you lose the shooter if you're Stuart, and Greg will have a little potential tap on that yellow on his last. So good result from Greg. Keeping the deuce alive, at least.
That one's gonna go over here. And hold
Stuart's looking like he wants to make a go at the shot stone.
we're setting a million.
And they're just talking about if they tick the top one, keep your shooter around for second shot. So this will be a soft weight. Something like board. So let's see if they can get the line right. Make contact with the red. Watch that shooter just dive there, spun around. So good result. Sitting 2, Greg
I was a little scared we were rolling out of your hand.
has the draw for the single.
I didn't want to call it curl, but
He needs to be in the 8-foot for this one. That was a touch and go end, both teams up and down.
I don't think all 3 ever go.
So just looking for the single here.
I think the 4 hits this one. What do you think, Greg? I think it's close.
Greg's more known for his hits, but you got to be able to make a draw if you're a skip. Looks pretty comfortable with this one.
Near the line, it really takes off. Because you had that same thing happen on
Sweepers like it. Looks good for the 4-foot. Great shot to take a single. So after 4 ends, Thompson leads 3-2. They'll take hammer into the 5th after the halfway point here. Draw 2 of the Stu Sells 1824 Halifax Classic. And if you just tuned in or you're flipping back and forth, we've got 4 games out on the ice now and this afternoon and this evening, and you can catch sheets 8 and 2 live every draw. Take a look on stewcurls.com and curlingzone.com for the schedule. See when your teams are playing. And on the other live game, we've got Moybrook versus McDougall. McDougall up 4-1 in the Fournier manual game. Fournier's up 2-1 after 3 ends. And in the Epping-Jones game, they're speedy. They've finished their 4th end as well. Epping is up 4-2 over Jones. And Epping with hammer, so good lead there. Oof, we got our center guard. Zach Shirtliff will have to thank his sweepers for that one.
Follow through, Mike. I think it'll touch the back one if it drags.
I guess I should say sweeper. Chris was inside, so just Zach Young sweeping that to get it over. Greg was helping. Phil Kroll, lead for Team Thompson, trying to make that come around to the center line. They want to have this in the rings. They don't want to leave a guard for Team Smith. Everybody took their 4th end break, so that was just Travis sweeping that. Phil came out to help make sure it got in. This one's dying as well. Come, might touch the red guard. Might get it around. There we go. To the center line. Overcurled a little bit, so the come around's available on the other side. Usually you'll see the team with hammer putting the one in the top 4-foot and then the 12-foot, but Phil will do this the opposite way. We saw this path more in the 1st end where it was hanging and wasn't getting the finish. Sweepers want to get this one to the 4-foot though. They don't want to leave it light. Trying to get all the last little bit of curl out of that rock right into the 4-foot. Nice shot from Phil. It's been a touchy spot for these teams. Greg thinking they can get into the inside of that in the top 4-foot. A little less ice taken here. This one's getting the curl they need, but make sure the weight's there too. They'll get it to the 8-foot.
I know. I don't have an easy one either. Yeah, sure. I don't hate that.
Bit of a tough position. Stuart has hammer here. Doesn't really want to jostle anything around too much. They're looking at the pick.
Even half, I think, makes it. Ripped it
rest of the team overruled that decision. Said we have hammer. We're up 1. Let's peel. Almost made contact on the second one. So they're okay if they don't score here. So they'll try and play a little more clean. Greg wants to complicate things. Greg called a draw on the outturn side. You're coming around that rock top 12 foots. Might be a bit tough. Asking Zach Young to make it though. It's going to be weight and line sensitive. Down 1 without. They do want to try and steal or force. Force would be okay. We'll take hammer into the 6th. They got by the top one, but they needed to stop, and it does just in time. He made it. And this for Travis is a soft weight. Raise. Trying to get their own yellow onto the red Smith rock. Keep the shooter. We've been seeing rocks track on the center line. So I need this one to curl. We got to make contact. And it will. Shooter's going to roll out. And the red didn't go out, but it's in the back 8, back 12. And so you can see now the problem for Team Smith is a couple yellows hanging around there, but they still have a center guard. That's a tough call there. He's worried about the 2 yellows that are in the rings. And his only shot stone is visible at the back 4 foot. So they'll have a discussion. So if your goal is to force, you're always wanting to keep the play around the center. So Greg's thought was play a tap on the Yellowstone and keep the shooter, but I think your shooter is going to end up on the side of the rings and doesn't really help them all that much. If you make it perfectly, you could freeze the stone on the top 4 foot, which was Greg's initial call. It's a tough shot. I think that would be ideal. So he's still calling that little hit and flop. He's worried about playing the draw, wicking open, leaving a double. No easy shot here. Chris likes to freeze, and he's the one throwing it. Greg overruled. He says, no, I like this hit and flop. And I know Greg's thinking, let's get rid of this yellow stone, leave 3 reds in the rings. But at the end of the day, I don't think this is helping achieve your force or even a steal. Going hard for line here. And they wreck on the guard. Leaves the center guard in a different spot now. And the shot stone's protected somewhat. Is there a double? It's pretty flat.
Line's good. Line's good.
Even if you roll the shooter in on top of the red, I think it's a good result here, though.
Little bit of room.
The only issue is then you're grouping the yellows, but there's a catcher, the red catcher at the back. So the call is a big up weight, hit and roll in, maybe make the double.
The 8 might suck. I think you're not throwing them consistent enough for us to tell if it's rocks or not, right?
Going hard for line. Just misses the back of the red stone.
But I don't know what to tell you. There's a reason you're throwing them.
It's the first time we've seen a rock really curl there. It was tight ice. So now with the center guard, Greg's going to play the come around. There'll be a little short run back for the yellow stones. But you got to keep that guard out front. There's a double on the yellows, but the risk is there that you jam. That's what they're looking at now, playing the double. Hit high side on that yellow. Shooter will stick around. Opening up the possibility for the blank or the force here with this call.
Line's good. Needs to sit.
This one looks like they're sweeping hard. They don't want to over curl.
Stay down.
Caught the back of their stone. So got rid of one yellow, but not both. Left the shooter out front. So for Team Thompson, how do you manufacture a 2 out of this? Red's got a short run back. So you can't really leave that there because the run back would leave them sitting 3. I think Cameron's thinking hitting this on the center line side, lose the red and jam that yellow on the red in the back 4-foot. So it's about 2/3 or even half a rock on the center line side. Gotta get this one across the face.
Line's good.
Didn't get to the inside. Leaves red sitting 2. This has been
Line's nice.
an end of back and forth momentum the whole time. So for Team Smith now, they can really put some pressure on.
Gotta go.
I think this is the obvious call. Just come around, put another one in the 4-foot, make it hard for yellow to score.
Yeah. Well, he buried around Nate's card. Yeah. I'll give you a tab more ice to be safe. Like he was on the
Sweeper's just checking where it's going. The deeper it is, I think the easier it is to play yellow run back. So they're going to try and keep it top 4, maybe even top 8. To sit 3. Right behind that guard. Sweeper's on it early to keep it out. Greg's been getting good finish on his draws. Now this one's starting to take off. Looks like it's going to sail in there on its own. Top 8 foot. Can you ever get rid of both those reds with a raise, roll the shooter onto the rings, and maybe squiggle the raised yellow into the 4 foot area? So I think that's the call here. Facing 3 red Team Smith stones. They're a little wary of the center line because we're seeing some of the rocks grab and move, but camera's just held real straight in a similar path, a little wider out. So looking for almost nose on this. Both reds go, and shooter rolls to the top 12 foot. So mission accomplished for that shot, leaving red sitting 1. There would be a short raise for 3 if everything stayed as is. So Greg's got to deal with that situation. Looking at removing the yellow in the top 8. But given that they're shot, talking about removing the top 12 foot yellow, that's the chance for 3. But I think their goal at the beginning of this end would have been to force or maybe even steal. I think if you have another red in the rings that outcounts that top 12 foot stone, it wouldn't be so bad. I don't know that you have to remove it. I know they're looking at Stuart's shot for 2 as the angle raise, and that's why they're looking at hitting it. But if you draw one in the rings, you're defending against that as well.
We got a pretty good kicker. Get 2 and then we make him draw 2 or 3 and send it. That's all we can really do. Make sure we get our dudes. I don't think Wyatt's very good either. If Wyatt has a good one, I think we get rid of it. I just don't know if he has it. I don't think he likes it too, but he hasn't really been very good to be able to tell us anything good.
So they're looking for a roll in here as well. Good result, blocking the raise on the yellow. And so Stuart's just looking at a draw for a single. Greg had to make that one pretty perfect, and he did, so good shot. Get the force out of it. And a force to a hard shot. Draw to the full 4. And it's on the side of the sheet no one's been playing today, or this end.
And the end stays in the rings more often.
So 5th end, last shot for Stuart Thompson. Throwing the yellow rocks, facing a single in the back 4 foot. Needs full 4 for the single. After a bit of a back and forth end. We've had that a few times this game so far. This one has to stop now. It was grinding in, but it looks like it might be yellow. Hard to tell. Greg thinks it's the red. I think Cameron might call for measure. It's close. Yeah, I think we're going to see a measure. They're not going to agree on that. This is the most exciting part of curling. I think it's yellow, but it is darn close. I'm usually wrong, so it's probably red. Measure's never far away at the Halifax Curling Club, right in the south end of the city. And if you're familiar with this club, I can't walk around the outside on a pathway. The boards on one side are right up against the edge of the sheet on sheet 1. I'm gonna have a go around just to double check this. Of course, we can't see the dial, but they'll let us know, we hope. Might have to go around one more time. Tighten things up. And if you've never seen a tie, it happens. Every so often, these stones will be the same distance from the pin. And you can't tell. So it looks like they've called it yellow. And looks like they're posting that on the scoreboard. Thank you, Travis. So just by a hair, that draw was good enough for a single to go up 4-2. Thompson over Smith. Going into the 6th end here, Smith will have hammer. I think we'll see some rocks in play. We always talk about this 6th end being nice and important to have hammer in and just to really score in the 6th. So there's often a lot of focus on this end, of course, and the 8th end as well, but we're not in the 8th end, we're in the 6th, so let's see. Phil Kroll will lead us off. Looking for top 4 foot, just gonna get to the button.
We gotta go. We gotta go. I think so. I think if they score again, our chances go real down.
And we get the call for the corner guard. Zach Shartliff for Team Smith. Team Smith curls out of the Remax Center in St. John's, Newfoundland. And they've got a few spiels on the go this year. The Stu Sells Oakville Tankard, the Rick Rousel Classic, the Stroud Sleeman Cash Spiel, the Challenge to Curling Desjardins, and the Superstore Monctonian Challenge. So they'll be in a few different provinces, and they already have been. Nice corner guard there from Zach. We'll just double check the score too, or just a reminder, it's 4-2 for Team Thompson. Just in case you haven't seen the scoreboard. Now the center guard from Phil, but the sweepers have to get off this. It's over curling. Once it's over curling, then you just want it to stop. Come around being called here from Zach. And see if he can get this in the top 8 foot, top 4 foot distance. Now just trying to get that finish. Both teams have been pretty good at getting stones around these corner guards. So that one looks nice and buried, over buried. You can't see it from the hack. And we do have the free guard zone. So you can't remove the guard. So instead of instead of making a play at the red stones, we're just going to try and complicate things here. And Travis Coulter looking for a tight center guard. Something a little closer to the rings on the center line. Try and make Team Smith have to work for that deuce. So we're out of the free guard zone now. Greg can play a call on this. When you have a tight guard, you'll often see the teams do this. Try and roll on. I don't know that this one's quite tight enough that he can roll the shooter on, but it'll roll over for a second corner guard. And then Team Smith will be really trying to make that side 8-foot one a counter as they get through to the end of the end. But hit that one a little too thin. Shooter's going to roll out. And now Team Thompson says, well, we're getting later in the end. We'll just keep putting that guard up. More and more we're seeing second stone, which was always known for big hits. The second stone's having to make a lot more draws and guards. And that's been a result of both the 5-rock rule and the no-tick rule. Need this one to curl, though. Got a lot of finish on that. I didn't know that was going to make it to the center line, but there we go. Tight guard. I think given that it's open, Greg's going to try the double. Once again, try and roll the shooter over for another corner. Need to keep this one high side. Zach Shirtliff's working on it. Don't want to cross that center. Don't want to jam it. Just got a little unlucky on that jam. I think the yellow's popped out the side a bit, though. It's visible. They're looking if there's a port between the guards. But that wouldn't be for the draw. It's a very tight port to draw through. So they're going to go all the way on the other side, go on the intern side of the sheet. Try and sit 2. This will act almost as a second guard for the stone and the 4-foot. But we haven't been seeing the play on this side this end, so sweeper's got to keep an eye on things. Really curling now. It's taking a left turn. And it's going to be partly buried behind the redstone in the tight guard area. So that curled about a foot more than they wanted. Trying to make contact and stick that red raised rock. Good job, 2 reds in that 8-foot. Stuart can't ignore them. Once again, probably sick of hearing me say it, sticking the shooter is very important here. Just like Chris just did, the raised rocks stuck around.
I want to give you mid-floor. Worst case, we're wide and you edge that barrier on the right. This is jammable.
A little lucky there. That over curled. Ricocheted off the back. Usually you'll see the skips. Stuart said to Greg there, sorry. Didn't make that one how we wanted to. Sometimes you miss a shot so bad you make it. But it does open up the 4-foot for Chris Ford. So looking for a draw, top 4. Again, both teams would really like to score here. I don't think we'll see a blank. So Team Thompson looking to steal, but not a good steal opportunity, but 2 points. Looking potential here for Team Smith. Got to get this one in the rings first. That one will come up light.
Like, I'm getting terrible times on him too. I don't actually think it curls. I think it's dead slow. That's 16-3. It's not
Another swing.
slow and they yell steal.
That's a usable rock, though. If you're going to leave it anywhere, leave it top house or just tight. It's a raisable rock, so Stuart will try and draw probably closer. Top 4, like just biting the top 4 foot. So if Greg raises that, he wouldn't be second or wouldn't be shot. As we're down to skip stones here in the 6th. I watched Cameron throw one here earlier, so they should know the path. This is where it really curled. Stayed straight, and then when it finished, it really warped towards that center line. So they're trying to hold it until that happens, and then they'll sweep for distance. There it goes. Lost that one a little bit. I think it picked, but we've seen some rocks curl there. We thought Greg might have a raise on the red rock, but with that one coming up in the top 12 foot, Greg might just have to play the draw. Wondering if they should go out turn or in turn direction. Gonna play the same turn Stuart just threw. And we'll have to watch because we just saw 2 draws curl here, although they think that one grabbed. This is the easier way to get buried under the guard and under all those staggered rocks.
I want to say there. Maybe even a tap more. We haven't really undercurled over here. Yeah. Yeah.
So looking for 4 foot here. Greg Smith, his first and 6th.
Yeah. So it's like 8 feet, 10 feet slower then? So slow.
They're on it early. Might have come out a tad light. That's usually what I say. My thrower knows they were tight when I scream. Now they're sweeping for distance too. We get it to the 4 foot. Looks good. Get it by that top yellow. Oof, almost grazed it. There we go, shot stone. Just shot stone. So how do you prevent a 2? Because it's looking good for Greg with that nice draw for a deuce. Stuart's elected not to play big weight, not to try and remove it, but just do one better and freeze to the back. Get shot stone over that red. It's always nice to throw a stone in a path that you just did. So you'll find sometimes people will just favor throwing their preferred type of shot if they like to throw draws or they like to throw hits. Sometimes you can get a good result out of either one, and sometimes it'll be because they just threw the shot. Again, holding this one out. I'm probably going to keep this clean because they think the last one grabbed. But this one's not curling like all the others. Just a little bit of extra weight there. Doesn't get to the inside of the yellow. So I think red is shot. That little bit extra weight just didn't curl like all the others. So Greg will have the chance for the second point. He's going to have to come down to that yellow stone, though. He can't throw the same draw he just did because he'd wreck on his own. So he'll have to play a little bit of weight. Back 4 foot. He just threw top 8.
He knows that you might need to get that yellow. I don't know if it goes automatically. Like it's gonna go. Might need some help.
So here's the chance after all that this end. Greg Smith with a draw for 2. With the goal to tie things up here in 6. Going hard for line early on this one. You got to keep it wide if they want to get onto the back stones. This one's moving. Can they hold it? And they did. Great shot. 2 points on the board for Team Smith. Their first deuce of the day in the 6th end. And we have a tie game, 4-4, with 2 ends left to play. Here, draw 2 of the 2023 Stu Sells 1824 Halifax Classic. We're at the Halifax Curling Club, and I hear it's snowing outside in Nova Scotia. Forgot my scraper at home. Hopefully I can get home. This event's brought to you by STEELE, SUBURU, Neon Train, and Stu Sells Realty Team with partner sponsors Murphy Hospitality Group, Prince Edward Island Brewing Company, who I'm guessing if you come out to the club, you can grab something up at the bar. Also partnered with Crombie Reed Scotia Square and our friends at the Curling Store.
I think putting center biting 8's a decently hard shot.
And if you're in the area, we would love to see you. Tend to get a bit more traffic in the evenings during the week because some of you are working right now. Check out Halifax Curling Club on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send any questions you have through on the social media channels and get answers, see what's going on. You can follow the scores on stewcurls.com and curlingzone.com. And for every draw, you can follow us here on YouTube, where we'll have live coverage of 2 of the 4 games every draw. This afternoon we'll have featured the Curtis and Constantini game, as well as the Grandy and St. Georges game. Tonight, featuring Epping versus Manuel and Purcell versus Smith.
Line go!
So game on here, 7th end. And we love to think about what the goals for each team is here. Team Thompson tied with Hammer. They don't really want to score here unless it's a few points. So they're happy to have no guards in play. They'll play the come around. Team Smith, they want to complicate things. They really would like a force. They're probably not even that interested in a steal. The force is an ideal situation for them. And they'll go for 2 in the 8th. Although for Team Smith, if you really want to steal or force, be tempted to put up that second center guard. So Team Thompson now looks like they're going to split the rings. Not going to put up a guard here. Want to get this one in the rings. Sweepers get a little tired sometimes when they want to get it there. It's always nice the skipper to come out and help. When I try to do that with my team, they tell me to go away. So I know what they really think. So chance, because that rock's a little high in the rings, Zach Young has a chance here to hit, maybe double. This one's curling. Might just chip over the top. So for Team Thompson, they're not super worried about this. And at this point, they're probably going to blast here. That's why they didn't call a corner guard. They're not even that worried if they lose their stone in the rings. Would have liked to make contact with that second one a little thicker, just wicked off the side of it. Team Smith, they'll just replace that center guard. They're going to try and delay any action in the rings as long as they can. Don't want this one to be too tight. Halfway is nice. I think they want it to curl. Right on the center line. They're just playing the straight peel here. They were looking at making contact with the ones in the rings, but you risk losing yours and leaving the center out front. So straight peel works. too complicated here. Another guard. These guards are so hard to make perfectly. If you leave it a little open, give access to one of the ones in the rings and leave it double, it's no good. If you're angled too much, you leave a run back. That one's pretty good. A little higher than the others. Sometimes you might get these guys to take a look in the rings and say, well, if we're going to get forced, we'll get forced to 2. So they're looking at making a play on that top one. But this is the part of the end where you're probably making that decision whether you're going to play for that blank or go for the points. So that's why they're having a team discussion. And I bet every viewer at home has an opinion. Just with that guard so high. I like playing into it. I know everybody wants hammer coming home. I like, you know, if you're going to get forced, try and generate a couple out of this. Chip that top one, roll over.
Chris.
So we're sticking with the peel. They might be trying. I can't hear the mics for the players. I don't know if they're trying for a run back here. It's such a long guard. Gotta think that's just the peel. No. Got rid of a couple reds. Oof, they need that one. Oh, that just bounced out, I think. That worked really nicely. Might have to have another team chat here for Team Smith. What's the risk and what's the benefit of the different options?
I think we can get more movement on the in here. I think we can get more movement. It's out. We can get more movement on the in. We can throw back 4 just to set up. We got 2 more after.
Looking at the little tap. I like that. It's aggressive.
That's really good. If you ever move it a little, it's perfect. The line of this, no, the line of this is more important. I think just back 4. Back 4 right here. Pretty close.
Looks like they came to that decision pretty quickly.
Throw back 8
Another
there.
red stone in the rings. Keep the force alive.
Like
Maybe a
move it all the
steal.
way back. Tap it to freeze. I was trying to move this a little. I think there's enough room. But I wouldn't call more than back 4. Back 4 is only going to move it a little. Keeping it straight is, what do you like? T-line with right here. Okay.
So just withdraw weight. really need this one to curl.
Help him.
Got to make contact with that red, and they want to get to the nose. Don't want to have an angle there. Although it is half behind that guard, but such a long guard.
15-3, I got.
So we're just wondering if he can
What?
come in and move those around, keep the shooter, open up the scoring area. Still on Cameron's shot here. He either forgot it was his shot or he was so invested that he had to see it.
Too.
This would be
Was he throwing boards?
a somewhat soft weight, more like a control weight hit. Not gonna put the 7-second peel on that. Once again, keep your shooter. Forward waits the call. Gotta get by the guard. It's really moving. Got by. Staying on it just to keep the angles. They wanted to make contact with both reds. Actually over curled.
Seriously. Try to get with, the thing is, you gotta try to kill the back, don't ya? Just tap, close. Yeah, I got more of that than I thought. Do we want to move this behind the tee line?
Skips rocks. You'd like to force.
Yeah.
Right now, Team Thompson has a draw
here, and I'll throw
for
back
2.
12.
And it's a draw to the 4-foot, which is quite makeable. So you can see what Greg's indicating there.
That looks pretty close. I think back
Tap,
12
tap.
there. We're going to try to move the back.
So they're not that worried about promoting the yellow so far to put it out of shot position. What they're more worried about is getting their red stone that's currently sandwiched into the top 4 and make it harder for Thompson to score 2.
Okay, so is that still max or no? Line is everything, so well, I think the nose is really good. Here, okay, and I'll throw it. Okay.
So first of skip stones in the 7th. If I can get my words out, Greg Smith. Just a draw, wait, tap, tap.
Whoa, whoa.
I think you got to play this with moving a couple stones, so it's often like a back line weight. Need this to curl. It's looking close. And I think that's mission accomplished in terms of getting the red in the 4-foot. They seem to be sweeping that to try and get shot out of it. And so now the force is on.
Yeah. Just an inch per one curl here.
So if you're trying to avoid being forced, it's very useful to sit 2. And that's the call here.
Yeah, I was thinking like if I'm going to throw it kind of aggressive, we can hold it. But, you know, that's probably ice for 2012 Greg.
We've seen this draw path a few times.
Pretty good, actually.
If it's got extra weight on it, it's really hanging. And if it's light, it'll take off. So you have to be perfect. And it has to be judged perfectly. Tough spot, but they've seen it. Looking to sit 2. in the 4-foot. Travis on it early. Trying to keep it out there. This one's not rotating super fast, so it's probably going to dive. It's making its move. They got to get it past the yellow in the top 8. Want to keep this above the tee. It's pretty good. I don't think you can place that too much better. So now, are we going to look at that stone out on the side 12?
Well, then it's just the gimme.
Talking about a pick, you can see a quarter of that rock.
Play the in out. Like, honest to God, like, you just go into the back of this.
I'm looking at that red over on the side there. I think that might be Greg's only way in there. The pick is very thin.
Yeah, 2/3 is pretty close too.
Maybe you can see a third, but I'm behind the hack. I think it's more like a quarter.
Take here, peel up.
So an in-off.
Yeah. Everybody's nice. I gotta basically hit it in the same place.
This is a big shot here.
Yeah, let's look at it.
If you make it, you probably steal or force. And if you miss, the other team has a chance for 3.
Like a hairline?
And no one's played out this far. So a bit of a guess, but Greg will throw the heat here. And they're playing the out turn. This will have a lot of action, a lot of spin once it hits that red stone. Here we go. Close. Let's see. Can he get in there? Oh, perfect. What a shot. That was a guess on the line.
I probably just went high. Okay.
So now, last shot of the 7th. Stuart will have a choice. You can try and pick it. They might try and hit the yellow. Try and move both reds, but that's tough. Hit that red really thin on the top 12. They're looking at a possibility of scoring with all 3 yellows if they do that.
Something had to go right. I was there and I was like, if it goes through the hole.
And I think worst case, you only give up 1 anyway. Some people would be okay just giving up the steal of 1. You really want to come home with hammer if you're going to do that. So this could be a fairly low risk way to go for 3. But the rocks aren't set up great for that. The angles aren't great to make contact with that second red. You have to hit that top red so thin to come across the face of the yellow.
This could be bad.
So instead of playing on the red, I try and hit as much as he can of that yellow rock. Try and squirt those reds out of the 4-foot. Tough shot, but I think pretty low risk.
I don't know how you ever squirt the top one.
After that beautiful in-off from Greg. Last rock, 7th end. Looking to hit all that yellow that he can. by the guard. Oh, and the red spun back. So it looks good for a single for sure. And they'll have to have a look at those. I don't think that other red scored it as far as they thought it would. Let's see what they put, but I think just a single yellow.
Yeah, I don't even,
So
they
if
have to
so,
look
Team
so
Smith
low,
got the
because
force
the
that they were
effort's
looking
so
for.
low.
Almost got a steal.
I was, as I was coming down and I saw it come off the back, I was like, just don't go through the hole. Just don't go through it.
Chris, I was like,
There's, oh, good. I didn't think there was. I was like, no. 16. Yeah, 16.
Just a single. So 5-4. Thompson leads. Phil Kroll will lead us off here in this 8th end.
Thanks.
Scheduled to be the final end. Unless we have an extra. And we're very glad to have you joining us online at the Stu Sells 1824 Halifax Classic at the Halifax Curling Club. Presented by STEELE, SUBURU, Neon Train, and Stu Sells Realty Team. Team Thompson will be looking for that steal. They want to end it here in 8, but they're only up 1. And Team Smith, well,
Running
they're
hot.
looking for the deuce. Zach
Wait to my
Shirtliff
brush. You can go a little.
throwing the corner guard.
Yep.
Like to get just past the stone in the curling store.
Fine. Good.
Where Greg's broom is. That's a good one from Zach. They'll be looking to keep things pretty clean and uncluttered around that center line. Team Thompson, on the other hand, they're trying to make things a little more complicated. Putting this guard on the center line.
Around the corner.
Just like that. And Greg will call the come around. Some teams will do the delayed corner guard, so we haven't really seen that this game. We saw it earlier today where a team would play a hit on the one in the rings and then play the corner guard if they have last rock. Sometimes you'll see teams put up a second corner guard. In this case, Greg's asked for the draw, although this looks a little hot.
Sorry.
Stuart will try his best to get that through the back, but it'll hang on. Full 12 at the back of the house.
Good.
Very interesting here. The only rocks in the rings are behind the tee line. I think we need something out front. And if that Yellowstone were in front of the tee line, I think we'd be seeing a second guard go up here. But I think here, Yellow Rocks really want to have something in front of the tee line. They're waiting for this one to curl. This one's looking a little hot too. They're going to have to drag it behind that. Or get some separation. That's not an ideal spot. Backing, but for Team Smith, it's accessible. And they can hit a roll. They can roll their shooter
this is not
wide.
really cute, though. They freeze anywhere and it's gone.
They can make the double by rolling wide.
It's either a
Keep
little
things
tap
clean for
or
them.
it's the roll. So bored.
So they're playing for the roll into
No, I don't.
the 4-foot area. I think then you'd see Stuart happily call a freeze. So I think I'm favoring a roll away from the center line for this. Keep the deuce alive.
Close. Close. Yep. Yep. Yes!
This one's curling hard. They want to keep the
Yes!
roll.
No roll.
Want to
No
roll
roll.
too far. Just sits
Yeah.
back button. So
Just
there's
didn't
the
want-
freeze
we can hold
call.
it with that weight. Good.
And that was the risk
We
on
can
that
hold
shot.
It with that 10.5 and
Awful
just gonna
close to
hold it.
perfect, but just rolled a tiny bit too far.
It's totally fine. 12-4, good throw.
Travis has a chance to make this one just a few feet lighter. And this is a key shot for this end. This could be the STEELE point. Not curling yet, though. Just seeing these rocks track a little bit.
Curl. You might get there. You might get there. Curl.
Try and get the curl now. There, we got a little bit at the end.
My fault. I don't know.
What? It's identical. Yeah.
Needed to curl a rock more and would have
Same
been
throw.
perfect. The sweepers would have been able to carry it in there. So it's sitting open, and Zach Young will have access to hit it. Crowd that center line.
Whoa. Curl.
They're sweeping a curl already, though.
Curl!
Soft
Curl,
enough weight,
Chris!
it'll come back.
Gotta go!
Try and get to the inside. Hit a little bit on the outside, chipped off the red, opened up that 4-foot area a bit.
And a little
And I
hammer
think Team
weight
Thompson
there,
doesn't have
11.
much of a choice here. They have to, they gotta play into the center line area. As long as that guard's out front, they're happy.
Yeah, more on the weight was a little more, but the release was just a bit too jabby.
It's a little tough for Team Thompson here. They're up 1, but they don't have hammer, so a force is
Yeah, it's
still
fine.
good, but sometimes you try to steal so hard that you end up leaving rocks around the rings, and the other team has a chance for 2. So keep in mind that a force is okay. Don't want this one to curl too hard or get a jam at the back. Not what they were hoping to have. That one over curled. They just watched 2 stones track, and then that one over curled.
Feel the guard. My gut was here.
It's a nice opportunity. If Greg ever wanted to peel that center guard, this would be the time.
Yeah.
But they're
Perfect.
looking at playing into it.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, honestly.
So if you peel, what
He makes his double.
this double? We probably make the double back. We have no center line guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what the thrower. Come down.
Maybe someone in the
No, I
front
know.
end will.
I like
mention the
that one
peel.
a lot. I like that a lot. But in
They
the
got
same
3 in the
breath, like,
rings. They only need 2 to win.
I know. So this is really good. Yeah, and then it. We could peel it. And then the only thing is he goes here, it's hard to remove it this way if it's on this side. Let's peel. Okay, democracy 1, we'll peel. Okay. We're
Well.
peeling.
Someone. Someone was listening. like this call. When you have a hammer,
Clean.
the last stand you're down one. I
Clean.
think guards are not your friend
good.
in the
Nice
center line
soft.
area, so
Take that one.
this is a good result here. Put the pressure on the other team. And now you see there's a little bit of work ahead of Team Thompson. Looking at making a double and roll up behind the guard, sit two, try and get the force that way. You could just make the straight roll in front of it as well. Hit it a little thicker. What you don't want to do is go in between and roll through the hole. This is why that peel was nice for Team Smith. If that center guard were still in play, they'd be playing around it, but not much choice here. Trying to force. Hope for an extra. Get the back one. Roll the shooter up. Is there a double on the yellows? They need to get that back red out a little thinner.
Well, you jammed the second shot.
Right now, Greg's getting forced. It's a good shot.
It's there.
So Greg's looking at the double. I think even if you
Not
make
much
the
of a way
double,
not
even if
to-
you lose the back
Yeah.
red, you're okay. You only need two. You need to get greedy and keep three.
Do you want to have a look at it yourself? Kind of important.
I think he's worried if he jams it.
I
The
think
jammed rock
Alcock
might
can get
outcount the
jammed.
red on the side 12.
You need. I see this happening going through.
They're in a good position to
If
be
you get
able to
two.
score their single.
Okay. Do you want to throw peel or do you want to throw 8.5? So give it some ways. 8.5. Okay, I'll give you here. Okay. Rock is close to going.
Just going to go into the side of it.
Yeah, it's like a thick half.
Just thicker than
to
a half
me,
rock.
But
2/3.
we'll find out. You like the ice? Okay. Yep. Yes.
This one's curling, sweeping hard to keep the line, make that double.
Yes.
Let's see if he can get it.
Go, 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 go.
Jam
go,
the
go,
back,
go, go,
but-
go, go. Honey, get it. Really good.
They're worried about getting that one out. They're sitting two, even if that's not out. So good result there from Chris Ford. So for Team Thompson, I think you got to play that freeze. And if anything, they're okay if this is slightly on the side where the guard is. So Stuart's probably going to have at least, well, probably one more attempt to make this or another freeze. If this is good enough and Greg blasts, he'll have another shot to the side. If he gets this perfectly on the nose, Greg might just nose it. This one's gotta stay. It's over curling. They gotta keep it on the center line. Not quite there for weight.
Do we need to get cute with it, or we just pick it well? Play this through here, hey?
So Greg's gonna try and lose it. Once again, don't have to keep the shooter.
10.5 here. I think that's close.
The key would be to throw enough weight and make sure it goes easy and anything that it takes with it along the way.
10.5, anything high.
Because if you jam on the back one, you're probably keeping your shooter. I know why they're trying to keep the shooter around, because if Stuart makes a freeze and Greg blasts, then that's the 2 points. But you're preserving your single. Just make this go away here. Get the Zach attack on the sweep. I'm sure no one's ever said that to them before.
Big roll! Big roll!
Keep that high side, keep the shooter. Sitting 3.
That's
1 rock each to come. Stuart's got to make the freeze.
I was, the rock was
Same shot he just threw. Line was good. Just to add about 4 feet more of weight.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
Looking to make Greg make a hard one on his last, because right now, Team Smith poised for the win here. Needs a good freeze to the back 4-foot. Stuart Thompson, his last. Cameron's got the sweepers on it early for line to try and keep it out there. Let it make its curl at the end of its path, not at the beginning. They're going for line still. Now switching, trying to get it to that back 4-foot frozen. Close. Line, they needed that to curl 2 more inches. And this is why Greg was intent on keeping his shooter around on the last shot.
Watch the jam over there.
If you can blast this and stick 2 in the rings, it'll be for the win. Out turn up the center line. Last shot, 8th end. Greg Smith.
Curl, curl.
Sweep into curl. Got to cross the line.
Clean, clean.
Makes contact and picks it off the top, and that's going to be good for 3. Final score will be 7-5 after a nice 8th end from Team Smith. They only needed 2, but they got the extra point to defeat Team Thompson. I want to thank everyone for joining us, tuning in for the Stu Sells 1824 Halifax Classic. Check online for the results of the manual Fournier game. We'd like to thank STEELE, SUBURU, Neon Train, and Stu Sells Realty Team. And we'll catch you back very soon
That was a good one to watch for them. Is,
where we'll feature the Curtis
something to drink?
Constantini and the Grandy St. George games. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah,
Have a
look
great
how loud it
afternoon.
is out. No.
Good job, Mary.